What is going on, guys? It is your man Tyler James, and today I'm going to break down the best ways to achieve an aesthetic physique through training and lifestyle, okay? If you don't know me, again, my name is Tyler James. I'm an online fitness coach based out of Austin, Texas, and I help men achieve an aesthetic physique through training, habits, nutrition, and lifestyle. Those are the main four pillars for anything as a man, but today we're really going to break down training and lifestyle to a T, add in some extra things in there for you too. But these are the two things that are going to help you get the aesthetic physique, and I'm going to break down the exact science and the exact ways to get it in a quick and easy manner. Okay, the very first thing we're going to talk about when it comes to getting an aesthetic physique is training. Now, the very first thing you need to do when it comes to training is drop your ego, okay? A lot of guys go into the gym and they try to impress girls, they try to impress other people by putting on a bunch of weight, by doing half-ass reps, by doing everything quick, and what happens is they don't build any muscle. They don't see any gains because of the way they are training. They are training in a way and in a fashion that doesn't stimulate any muscle growth at all. The way they're training is not actually growing the muscle. The way they are training is wasting their time, right? And you don't want that to be you. So the first thing you should do is drop your ego, okay? If you can't actually feel the weight, if you can't control the weight, if you can't get a good stretch and a contraction, if you can't do any of those things, then lower the weight, right? Put your ego aside, focus on the mind-muscle connection, focus on the stretch, focus on the concentric, focus on the eccentric, right? And do lift the right way, right? 1 second on the way down, 3 seconds on the way down, and 1 second exploding. If you're in the gym and you're just going like this the whole time, you're not building any muscle. You're not putting any stress on the muscle. You're not putting any strain on the muscle. You're not stretching the muscle, right? The most important thing for a muscle to grow is for it to break down. The muscle must break down in order for it to grow, and you do that through shocking muscle. You do that through putting strain, putting stretch, putting stress on the muscle, right? Having a decent amount of weight, but the whole time controlling it, contracting and lifting the right way, and not letting your ego get in the way because you want to impress other people that probably don't really care about you, okay? So dropping your ego is the first thing that you should do. I'm going to write this down. I don't want to take up too much space with this, but it's so important for you guys to drop the ego and lift the right way, right? You don't want to be in there wasting your time trying to impress other people, trying to put on all this weight onto the bar when it's not actually building you any muscle, when it's not actually going to get you any gains. So drop your ego, lift the right way, right? Mind-muscle connection, slow contractions, all that stuff is going to actually give you gains and actually going to build muscle for you, okay? Now, the next thing is training the aesthetic physique muscles, okay? Now, what the aesthetic physique is a 1.6 to 1 shoulder to width ratio, right? It's like a Dorito type of look. And in order to get the aesthetic physique and have an aesthetic physique, you have to work out certain muscle groups, right? And the most important ones are going to be your chest, your upper chest, your shoulders, your back, and then also obviously arms and forearms. But another thing that's very underrated is your legs and your abs. These are the main components to actually building an aesthetic physique and the main things you want to focus on. Besides just dropping your ego and lifting the right way, hitting the right muscle groups is going to be very important. So that's the next thing I'm going to write down, okay? You want to have a wide back. You want to focus on having a wide back, upper chest, your shoulders, arms, abs, and legs. Okay? These are the muscle groups that are actually going to build you an aesthetic physique, right? If you want to have an aesthetic physique, you need to have a wide chest cage. You need to have a wide back. You need your upper chest to be showing, right? You have to have some type of arms, right? Your tricep makes up 2/3 of your arm, so that is very important to hit your tricep and focus on that. Forearms as well. Forearms are a very important muscle group for having an aesthetic physique too, because they give your arms a bigger look, okay? The next thing is abs as well, right? I'm bulking right now, so my abs aren't anything crazy, but if you do all these things and focus on these muscle groups right here, you'll get an aesthetic physique. And there's also certain exercises you can do that I'm gonna break down that will help you out as well, okay? So, first two things are dropping the ego and then focusing on these muscle groups right here, okay? And another key thing to note when it comes to doing these exercises is obviously you want to do them slow and controlled, but you really want to focus on your mind-muscle connection. When you're doing things like isolated movements, which are key for the aesthetic physique, you have to focus on that mind-muscle connection because that is going to be imperative to you actually growing the muscle that you are trying to focus on, okay? We're going to go over some exercises and some isolation exercises that are going to be the best for attaining an aesthetic physique, but it's very, very imperative you focus on that mind to muscle connection, right? When I go to the gym, a lot of the time, I won't even have headphones in or music playing because I am really wanting to focus on that mind muscle connection to the best of my ability, right? And when you're in the gym, that is the most important thing you should be focused on. You shouldn't focus on the music, you shouldn't focus on the surroundings, focus on the connection between your mind and the muscle, stretching it and contracting it and getting a stretch and putting a lot of stress and strain on that muscle so it will grow. That is super imperative when it comes to building the aesthetic physique. But the best exercises you're going to want to do are as follows, okay? For the wide back, you want to be hitting pull-ups, okay? Get down low here, pull ups, okay? Pull-ups are the best exercise for anybody who wants to grow their back, okay? Especially if you want to get a wide back. They're easy to do, they're easy to train, easy to get better over time. You can even add weight, and if you can't do them, you can put resistance on there so it is easier for you, okay? Now, what pull-ups are gonna do is force your back to really get wider, right? You're going down and you're pulling up, right? You're using all your arms, but it's also really forcing you to grow a wider physique, a wider back, right? And that is key to, again, attaining an aesthetic physique. The next exercise that we're going to focus on is incline dumbbell bench. Okay? This is another amazing exercise for growing your chest. The key to having an aesthetic physique is filling out your upper chest. Again, it's having a wide physique, but also having an upper chest, right? And an upper chest is developed through incline movements. And the best one you can do is incline dumbbell bench, right? It works not only the upper chest, but most of your chest as well, and really gets a great contraction, a great stretch, and it's more isolated for your chest, okay? That is the reason why I do it every single chest day, and it's the reason why you will get an aesthetic physique if you do this exercise. So incline dumbbell bench is a great way to isolate your upper chest and grow it while staying safe, while having a good stretch and strain on your muscles, okay? For shoulders, what I'm gonna give you guys is the gym cable lateral raises. I'll just do lat, okay? Cable lateral raises are a godsend. They are the best exercises for shoulders, okay? Not only is it gonna hit, the part of your shoulder up here, but it hits everything. It hits back here, hits down here, all of that stuff, and it is just an excellent way to put a lot of strain, a lot of stress on your shoulders and force them to grow, okay? When you are doing this exercise, you wanna keep your elbow bent slightly, and you just go up and down, right? I'm keeping almost a 90-degree angle right here. Like I'm keeping my arm straight when I go up and I'm going down. And when I go down, I go all the way down to the machine, right? I go up and then all the way down to the machine and I almost stop at the bottom, right? When you go down on the way back, what you're gonna do is you're gonna feel it in your shoulder muscles right back here. And then on the way up, you're gonna feel it here. So this is working here and then you come down and you feel it back here, right? You want to just hold on to the machine, right? Or the cable, and then just do this. And again, focus on that mind-muscle connection. This is the best exercise for shoulders, in my opinion. Obviously, you can do what you want, but if you really want to have an aesthetic physique, do this exercise right here because, again, it's going to have you have that wide-looking chest cage from your shoulders growing out like this, and then also these muscles back here are going to grow too, which is another great way to building out the wide back and building out your aesthetic physique. And also, it hits a little bit of your traps as well, okay? Next thing, for your arms. Now, for arms, triceps make up 2/3 of your arm, okay? So, triceps are going to be the most important. You should be training your triceps more than you are training your biceps. Because if you want to have big arms, you should focus on the muscle group that it makes up 2/3 of your arms. It's just an obvious thing, but a lot of people don't think about it. And a lot of people do biceps because it's cool, curls for the girls, whatever. But if you actually want to have big arms, hit your triceps, okay? So, what you want to do for triceps is a V-bar push down, and then also some type of isolation movement, and kickback is a good thing to do, a cable kickback. That's what you want to do for your tricep. If you do those two right there, you'll be good, right? Obviously, you can throw in a third one because, again, triceps make up 2/3 of your arm, so hit your triceps more than your biceps. But if you stick to these two, one more heavy compound movement and then one isolation movement, you are going to see your triceps grow at a rapid rate, okay? Now, for the other area of your arms, you're going to want to do an incline dumbbell alternating curl. So I'm just going to write dumbbell incline curl. Okay? Now, what you want to focus on here is really squeezing at the top and stretching at the bottom. Again, that is literally the key to any type of exercise is squeezing and stretching. Squeezing and stretching. Mind-muscle connection, okay? That is the key. Getting a good amount of strain, getting a good amount of stress on your muscles. Now, after the dumbbell incline curl, I would also recommend you do something like a cable wrist curl to focus on your triceps as well. Your forearms. Cable wrist curl. Something as easy as just grabbing a straight bar and going like this. It's going to hit your forearms right here, okay? So, these are the main exercises. Now, for legs and abs, I'm not going to go too much into detail there because it's pretty straightforward what you guys can do. You can do things like a weighted ab machine. You should be hitting squats, split squats, Bulgarians. All those things are good things to do. But in terms of your upper body, these exercises right here and these muscle groups are what is going to give you an aesthetic physique. So, that is the training side of the aesthetic physique and what you guys should be doing when you're in the gym. Now I'm going to get into the lifestyle and how to have an aesthetic physique. All right, fellas, so we talked about the training. We talked about dropping your ego, focusing on the mind-muscle connection, focusing and having your main focus on these muscle groups, doing these exercises on top of some isolation movements as well. That is going to be the best way to get an aesthetic physique through your training. But what is more important than your training is your diet and your lifestyle, right? In my opinion, diet makes up of 60% of everything you do. Diet is going to make up how you feel, your mood, your energy levels. Your diet literally makes up so much of your life and you don't even notice it. You decide to put bullshit in your mouth, right? Don't do that. You guys should be eating an animal-based diet, and diet should be your number one priority when you are not in the gym, right? Focusing on your diet will change everything in your life. It'll make your physique look so much better. It'll make you look so much better, make you feel better, remove the acne, right? Have higher libido, higher mood, higher energy, right? Food is an opportunity to either improve your life or worsen your life, right? And you guys choose the path to worsen your life through the things you eat. Maybe that's not you. Maybe you do have a good, clean diet. But if you think about it, when you're eating food, right, the taste eventually goes away. But the effect of it doesn't go away, right? How you feel, your mood, your energy. All that stuff is sustained because of the food you eat, right? Eventually that taste in your mouth, whether good or bad, is going to go away. But what happens after does not go away. So that is the very first thing, is having your diet locked in. And what you guys should be eating when you are thinking about your diet or going through your day-to-day is an animal-based diet, right? It's the best way to increase your testosterone, increase muscle growth, make you feel better, make you look better, have higher mood, higher libido, higher energy. Literally everything you would want as a man comes from your diet. And that comes from having an animal-based diet. If you think about our ancestors who are high testosterone, who are walking around jacked and shredded without ever stepping into a gym, it is because of their diet, right? They would eat steak, they would eat beef, they would eat red meat, eggs, rice, fruits. They would eat natural whole foods all the time because they had no other choices. They didn't have these processed bullshit foods that our society has just made up out of nowhere, right? They ate an animal-based diet, and it allowed them to have high testosterone, to look good, to feel good all the time, right? And that is what we want. We want to eat an animal-based diet because we want to look, we want to feel good, we want to have high testosterone. Those are the most important aspects for you as a man, right? If you want to have an aesthetic physique, you're not going to get it through eating processed foods, bullshit foods, fast foods. You're going to get it through eating an animal-based diet, right? That is the best way to do it, and that is the best way to go about it. So, again, I cannot stress enough how important your diet is. It literally makes up 60% of everything you do as a human being, as you're functioning. Your gut health, right? Your gut health is so important. How your muscles look, how you feel, how your mood, your energy is, right? Some of it can be tied back to sleep and working out and things of that nature, but 60% of it is tied back to diet. Because ultimately what you put in your system is going to be what comes out of your system, okay? So you need to have high amount of focus on your diet. And if you don't know what to eat, all you need to eat is red meat, eggs, rice, fruits, raw honey, raw milk. That's it. That's all you need to eat, okay? Now, next thing for your lifestyle, and this is something that I think a lot of people don't pay attention to or just don't do in general, is going to bed at the same time, but going to bed at 10 p.m. Okay? This is the best time for any of you guys to go to bed. Okay? And there's a multitude of reasons why it's the best time for you to go to bed, but the number one most important thing is that your body begins to produce hormones at 10 p.m. That is the time your body starts to wind down. That is the time your body starts to get into deep rest and deep sleep. And if you are not going to bed at this time, you're missing out on deep sleep and REM sleep. And those two things right there produce testosterone, which is going to help you get an aesthetic physique, right? If you guys do not know, testosterone, not only is it the most important thing for your muscle growth, for the way you feel, for how you act, for literally everything you do as a man, but also if your testosterone is high, you will build more muscle and burn more fat. And that is the key to having an aesthetic physique, right? We can talk about training, we can talk about lifestyle all you want, but if your testosterone is low, you are not going to have an aesthetic physique. You're just not. And what you need to do is focus on your lifestyle, focus on your diet, so you can have high testosterone. That way you can get an aesthetic physique, right? If you have high body fat, you're not going to have an aesthetic physique, right? And if you are high testosterone, what is going to happen is your metabolism is going to be boosted, your gut health will be better, everything will be better, and that'll help you attain the aesthetic physique, okay? So going to bed at 10 p.m. is so important because your body starts producing hormones at 10 p.m. Your body starts to wind down at 10 p.m. That is the time you are meant to go to sleep, okay? So go to bed at this time, right? Another thing is that a bunch of bullshit happens after 10 p.m. What really good things happen after 10 p.m.? Nothing. Nothing good happens after that time. So just go to bed. Just go to sleep. Do your work during the day, okay? Going to bed at 10 p.m., super important for your lifestyle, for getting deep and REM sleep, and for optimizing for your testosterone, okay? So we talked about diet. We talked about going to bed at 10 p.m. What is next? and it is going to be low body fat percentage. For having an aesthetic physique, for having the aesthetic physique, you need to be in a low body fat percentage, right? Obviously, you don't want to be super skinny, scrawny with no muscle on you, but you should be at a lower body fat percentage to where you have visible abs, to where you are able to be an athlete, to where you are able to move around, to where you are able to actually function in the real world, right? I see so many guys at the gym who are lifting a lot of weight, but it's not like they're an athlete. It's not like they're functional. It's not like they're going to live a healthier and happier life than you if you implement these things, right? So it's so important for you to have a low body fat percentage. And again, if your testosterone is low, it could be linked back to this. Because if you have higher testosterone, you're going to have lower body fat. So what you should focus on is getting low body fat, and you do that through either eating in a calorie deficit or cutting out some of the carbs, okay? For your animal-based diet, you want to keep the protein and fats high so you can still have high testosterone and still be able to put on muscle while you're in the gym. But you also want to focus on having lower body fat percentage. Things you can do to do that is intermittent fasting. Okay, that can be like not eating up until like 12. You can eat in a calorie deficit and you can lower your carbs, right? Those are the most important things you can do to lower your body fat percentage. And if you want more one-on-one coaching, I can definitely help you out with that. But lower body fat percentage is going to be key to having an aesthetic physique. No fat ass has an aesthetic physique, right? That's just not the case, right? And if you go to the gym and there's a guy who's putting on a bunch of weight, but his body fat is high, is he aesthetic? Do you really want to look like him? Maybe you do, and that's perfectly fine. But you should want to be someone who's healthy, who's happy, who's in shape, who's going to live a longer life because their body fat percentage is lower, right? Putting on a bunch of weight on the bar isn't going to do anything for you when you're on your deathbed, right? 10 years earlier than what you could have been if you had a lower body fat percentage and you had a healthier lifestyle, okay? So super, super important to prioritize low body fat percentage. Now, the next thing for an aesthetic physique is something, I don't know, maybe different, maybe something you guys do think about, but it is getting sunlight. Again, I apologize for my handwriting. It's, as you can tell, it's like starts out good and then gets worse, but getting sunlight is going to be just so instrumental, right? Vitamin D is a pro-hormone. And what that means is it literally resets your circadian rhythm, resets your mood, resets how you feel. Anybody who tells you sun is bad is bullshit. The sun is responsible for so many important functions on our earth, like growth and food and water. Literally, the sun is just so important. You see a plant grow when it's out in the sun, right? You see all these things happening when they're out in the sun. And animals that aren't humans spend all day in the sun. So how could you possibly think it's a bad thing, right? Sunlight and vitamin D are pro-hormones, right? And what a pro-hormone is going to do is increase your testosterone, which in turn will help you get an aesthetic physique, okay? And also live a healthier and happier life. So getting sunlight is so important. You should be aiming for an hour a day, but at least 30 minutes a day, right? And if the weather's bad, then you should supplement with vitamin D. If if it's always cold and rainy and, cloudy and where you live, then supplement with vitamin D or move somewhere where it's nicer. Okay, you have free will to do that. And getting sunlight and being out in the sun for 30 minutes a day, it's literally the best thing you can do for boosting your testosterone, for getting pro-hormones, for doing it naturally, right? A lot of people want to stick a needle in their ass, but they don't want to go outside and get sunlight for 30 minutes a day. Okay, so just focus on this. If you get sunlight, you're going to have an aesthetic physique. And if you tan, right, think about people who are tan versus people who are just pale, right? People who are pale don't look as good or as aesthetic as someone who is tan. So focus on getting sunlight so you can be tan, okay? These are the main tenets of lifestyle. Obviously, diet is the number one most important thing. Sleep is important. Low body fat percentage is important. Getting sunlight and being tan is going to help you look more aesthetic, is going to increase your testosterone. So you guys should be focusing on these things when you are not in the gym, okay? Now, one more thing that can help with your lifestyle is walking. Walking is, again, one of the best things you can do, right? Not only is getting sunlight great, but you can also go out for a walk and get sunlight at the same time. And when you walk, what you are doing is you are increasing your cardiovascular health, but you're also shredding body fat. You're also getting out into the sun. You're also lowering your cortisol. You're also connecting with nature. Walking is like one of the best things you can do for getting an aesthetic physique because you're burning fat, you're increasing your cardiovascular health, you're getting healthier, you're getting happier from being outside, increasing your serotonin. If you can walk, and especially without a phone, I'll write this down. Especially without a phone, if you do that right there, you are going to look and feel your best all the time. I walk for 30 minutes a day. It's a great way to shred body fat and then also connect with nature, be out in the sun, increase your testosterone, all these things, okay? So these are the best ways to get an aesthetic physique: training, lifestyle, dropping your ego, focusing on these muscle groups, diet being 60% of it, and doing an animal-based diet, having a low body fat percentage, going to bed at 10 p.m., and then getting sunlight and walking without your phone. Really just, if you do all these things, you're going to have an aesthetic physique, right? You're going to be there. If you're training 5-6 days a week, if you're going to bed at 10 p.m., if you're eating an animal-based diet, if you're walking and getting sunlight, you're going to have an amazing physique. It's that simple. And if you do it over time and you're consistent, you will have a great physique. And if you want some one-on-one coaching and you want some help to get the aesthetic physique, book a call with me below. I can see if you're a good fit for the program, and we can go from there. Again, it's your man, Tyler James. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the video below, and I will see you guys on the next one.